And Ed, welcome to the studio. Say hi to everybody.
Matt, appreciate it very much. And I'm not sure if this studio is big enough for our egos, all in one studio. But maybe it is. We'll see.
All right, I'm sure we'll do fine. Ed, is there anything, I don't have a bio on you. Everybody knows you, but do you want to say, why don't you give us a little information about yourself real quick?
Well, we do have 30 more minutes of the show. Is that right?
Yeah, we got 23 minutes.
Well, I've been practicing. I'm a Baylor Law School graduate, University of Texas undergrad, political science major, went to Temple High School, graduated from there. I've been practicing law since 1982. So that would put it 34 years, I guess, now. And primarily my private practice, I've been in business since 1985, and I have 3 offices in Temple, Waco, and Killeen.
So easy to say, you know what you're doing. You've got a great history. You've got a lot of experience. You've seen it both sides, and you just know what's going on in the sense of you can give some very good in-depth answers.
What I can do, if I don't know it, I know how to find the information and answers, and I also can refer you to somebody or a client to somebody else because the law is very specific, and I can't be an expert in every area of law.
Absolutely, yeah. And we all understand that. But what I like is when somebody says to me, I don't know that. I know where to get it. But I don't want somebody giving me a BS answer. I want straight. Okay?
I understand. Let me ask you a question. I'm looking at our monitor here. Are we live on the internet?
Not live
is this
this
okay?
Is recording.
All right. Okay.
You good with that?
Okay.
All right. Now I'm streaming live on my website.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I need to know that. Hello, guys out there.
Now, Ed, what I normally do with my guests is I usually give them a set of questions.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me these 2 minutes before we were on the air.
Normally I do that. Last time I give you questions, though, you lost them on me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to keep them this time. But I know you're good at your game, and these questions are going to be very easy for you. But normally what I do is I give the guests some questions so they can give a good answer.
Sure.
But I know you got a plethora of information up there.
Yeah.
And this is pertaining to license to carry, a lot of it. And there's a lot of things that I see because I teach this class all the time. I go, that's interesting. How would they look at that? And I come from a family of attorneys. My grandfather, my father, my brother, my cousins, all attorneys. I can spin verbiage like the rest of them. I can make you look a saint and turn you into a devil, okay? It's all based on wording, and that's some of the things we're going to go over. So with that, with the time we've got here, Ed, I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay. Let's
start off with this. I just noticed this recently. I'm against these signs, the 30-6 and 30-7 signs, which tells you. Yeah. And here's one that's perplexing to me. Apartment complexes all over are putting up Penal Code 30-7 signs, which restricts your open carry. This confuses me because it appears that management does not want people carrying in the open, but everywhere on the property, except for in buildings, are not considered premises, which then defeats the purpose of the sign because once you're in the premise, it's most likely going to be your apartment. So the question is, if I'm checking the grounds out to see if it's a place that I want to live, am I in violation of Penal Code 30-7 if they post those signs?
Well, you probably are, but I think the chances of a prosecution aren't real high, and it is confusing. And I tell you what makes it even more confusing is every 2 years they change things.
That's right.
And so and like today, I was looking at the calendar right as we were starting to talk behind me. Today's March the 28th, 2016. In 2 more years, if you're watching this video or listening to this online on audio, what we may say today may not be what is correct 2 years from now.
But
so
now, I got to raise my eyebrow at you right now because I know the law when it comes to premises. And so I'm a little confused at your immediate response to that with confidence that I would be in violation, although you may not get convicted of it. Premises means in the building or a portion of a building. It does not mean the grounds. And since I come into the parking lot area of an apartment complex and it's not gated off and posted there, it's posted in random areas like the post box, how am I in violation of that?
Well, it also may be, of course, you're not a tenant yet, so you haven't signed a lease,
exactly.
So you don't know what the lease says. But I will tell you, the lease will say also anywhere the premises would mean the property, mean the parking lot. It would mean, at the laundry room or at the playground area,
so you would
or
say,
the pool, or.
So you would say the fine line is there. If you're assigned tenant, then those rules apply. As like you're an employee, you understand the rules of the company policy manual. But a person coming to check the place out would most likely not be in violation unless the management said, hey, what are you doing? And they actually verbally told you. Then you have a verbal command and you have to conceal it or leave the premise.
I think so.
Okay. I would think that would be the same way, but I just wanted to hear the expert say it. That's
All right.
All right, moving on here. Let's talk reckless injury versus civilly liable.
Mm-hmm.
Are there boundaries of where civilly liable turns into reckless injury? And this would be covered under Penal Code 905. And let me give you an example of what I mean.
What penal code again?
Penal Code 905. Reckless injury.
I've got my computer here, folks. Well, I'm not on camera. I keep looking at the camera, and I'm not on
We're live. You may not
Okay.
see it. But Penal Code 905, reckless injury of an innocent third person. And let me give you two examples that I give to students in class. And actually, I did this with you, Ed, when you were in class one time. I said, okay, there's a bad guy, and I'm freaking out, and there's 10 people behind the bad guy, and I freak out, and I start shooting my gun, and I have 5 people dead behind the bad guy, and the bad guy walks away. Mm-hmm. As compared to, there's the bad guy, I got a clean shot, center mass, but it bounced off a vertebrae or a collarbone, and it goes into the person over to the right about 10 yards into their cheek because of a deflection of a bullet. Now, one I would think is reckless. The other is civilly liable. Can you clarify? Talk about that.
I mean, I can read Texas Penal Code 9.05, and anybody that's out there can look this up. You just look up 9.05, the Texas Penal Code, and it says, even though an actor is justified under this chapter in threatening or using force of deadly force against another, if in doing so he also recklessly injures or kills an innocent third party, and that's what you're talking about, third person rather.
Yes.
The justification afforded by this chapter is unavailable in a prosecution for the reckless injury or killing of the innocent third person.
In street terms, that means you're screwed. But what I'm
right.
trying to get at is though, when does it become reckless? Do you think, as an opinion, you can't say specifically?
You know, I think you can't. I mean, again, law enforcement has this problem. You know, they pull a gun. And, you know, it's a split-second decision, and and it's the same way with a private citizen that's open carrying or concealed carrying. I mean, you've got to be trained. You do need to know these laws, but your best defense is not to pull the trigger. And if you do pull the trigger, you've got to be prepared for what may occur. And probably there's going to be both civil and criminal possible penalties.
Can I push you for an opinion?
Yeah.
Because I know you can't make a definite answer. If I'm shooting directly at the threat and the bullet does bounce off and goes in somebody's eye, would you consider that reckless from your opinion?
I would think if it was I don't. You know, if you had a 9mm and you shoot them and it bounces off or ricochets off a bone or whatever, I don't think that's going to be reckless. But if you empty your magazine,
yes.
Then I think, and nothing hits the person
sure, exactly.
that you're aiming at, then I think you've got some issues.
I try to clarify to my students how what's considered a reckless act as a civilly liable act. And I use that example of the same person, multiple shots missing, and I got dead people all around, as compared to a clean shot, but it bounced off a bone. You never know what a bullet's going to do.
And it also always depends on who the victim is. You know, I mean, and we got some great prosecutors here in Bell County, county attorney and district attorney, and they're going to weigh those very, very carefully and take a look at and everybody that has a license to carry, obviously are law-abiding people. You can't get one of those licenses unless you're law-abiding and paying your taxes and all the different.
Now, you could be law-abiding and all that kind of stuff, but you can still do something stupid. I've seen lots of people who are questionable in their smarts may have the ability to pass a test, but I question sometimes, hey, do you have the common sense? You may have the smart to answer yes or no, but you have the common sense on the situation. So I try to push into, and here's the other thing too. This course used to be a long course. I think it started originally 15 hours pre-test. Then they dropped it down to 10 hours.
Crazy.
Then it's 5 hours.
I know.
So what I've got to do is take 5 hours, and in our instructor course, they tell us you need to pick out the stuff that's important and give it to them, because I got 4 hours or 4.5 hours, something like that, and then I got an hour left for paperwork and testing. Okay, so here I got to cram into these guys and gals' heads, and I'm dramatic in my scenario, so it sticks. I'm very animated in what I do, because if you just read this stuff, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, and they don't realize they sign affidavits that state they understand and know the law. And you're an attorney. If you were to look that up and say, you signed it, you know what you're supposed to do, yet you didn't do it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. And and just because you may remember what you taught them 4 years ago, before you have to renew your license, doesn't mean you're going to remember it at the time. And like, we're going to a gun range this afternoon. It's my father-in-law's 80th birthday. He loves to shoot, so we're taking him. And being able to remember exactly what, and just being reckless. I mean, I'm not used to a gun myself even now still. I don't go out and shoot regularly. I need to. I know. Don't chastise me.
I didn't say a word, Ed. I know I looked at you weird, but I didn't say that.
I'm packing right now.
Okay, very good. This is good stuff. I like to hear from somebody outside of my circle. All right, let's talk about now Penal Code 904. Threat as justifiable force. I think this one happens a lot, Ed. This is one of those ones that can happen a lot.
I actually printed that one ahead of time. You said deadly force?
Threat,
is that what you said?
Threat is justifiable force.
Justifiable.
Now,
904?
904. If a person feels threatened, that person can brandish a weapon to the end of the situation, but can't that open the door to legal problems potentially? And also, what would be your recommendations after an event like this that takes place? Let me do it again after reading the question. Let me give you a scenario.
Okay. Give me an example.
I'm on the street. Some dude wants to, take my wallet or something. And all of a sudden I see him come up and I know what the intentions are. He's about to rough me up. And I open up my jacket to show my weapon. And I say, partner, you don't want to go there. He sees the gun and he goes, that's cool, man, and backs away. That was threat as justifiable force. And what I'd like to have you answer is this. Is not, correct me if I'm wrong, brandishing a weapon what I just did, and also brandishing a weapon in a very wild motion, aren't those two words the same for the same thing?
I think it is. And, again, these laws are created by people that many times don't have the expertise, and it's just like in Congress in Washington, D.C., half the stuff is passed that nobody even reads ahead of time. And then they have to go back to the next legislative session to clean stuff up and clear it up. And I've never been a legislator, so I can, cast stones all I want to on that. I mean, I just pulled up that 9.01, is that what you said?
04.
04 of the Penal Code. And it's justified when the use of force is justified by this chapter. Okay, so they defined it by using the same word.
I know. We're going to talk about legalese in a minute.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying
and
to
also, you're not necessarily threatening to cause death or serious bodily injury.
It's threat is
and you're not producing it necessarily. You're just displaying.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's break this down, Ed. Let's break this down. Clarify for me. I'm pretty confident in my understanding, but I may be totally wrong here. If I showed you a gun in an aggressive manner, that's called brandishing. Mm-hmm. If I open up my jacket so you see the gun, is not, correct me if I'm wrong, the technical term for it, brandishing the weapon.
That's right. And
okay.
It's also the 9.04 says a caveat, as long as the actor's purpose, that's you, is limited to creating an apprehension that he'll use deadly force if necessary. That does not constitute the use of deadly force. So you're just kind of saying, hey, I'm ready, it'd be...
Okay, so we cleared up brandishing means the same thing, because some people are under the term that doing this is bad, doing this is okay.
Yeah.
Although you're within the law to show your weapon, we have a situation now. Let's move to the next section of the question. The bad guy saw me brandish my weapon as a threat as justifiable force, and he says, okay, I'm out of here. He leaves. What do you think, in your wisdom, Ed, should the person, the actor who got aggressed upon, should do now once he brandished the weapon to the bad guy? What should he do, do you think?
Well, it might be a good idea to at least make a police report. I would think that would be a good thing. Now, you got to have about an hour to wait for the police to come, and wait.
Business is good.
Yeah, and wait for all the other things that occur, and then you got to, they'll say, "Why did you call me, sir?" It's been an hour or 2 hours since the incident occurred. But you can say, "Well, listen, I listened to a radio show one time, and the lawyer said to call the police." police, so that's what I'm doing. And
I have access to information that tells me what happens on both sides.
Yeah.
And basically, what happens from experience is the bad guy ends up calling up and making a report on the good guy.
Yeah.
Okay? That happened to me personally on a job I was doing. It had nothing to do with a gun. It just had to do with he thought I was being aggressive, and it wasn't. I was being very apprehensive about what this guy was doing to me, but he flipped it around on me. So it can definitely happen. Okay. Did we finish that segment?
And many times the first person to make that call is the one that the police are going to believe.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Regardless of what the true facts are.
All right, Ed, let's go on here. We're doing.
I'm trying to decide if this is my best side, Matt.
You want to sit over here?
Do I have a best side?
You normally sit over here, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I see in gun magazines and other forms of media gun legal services. I went to one just recently, and it left a very bad taste in my mouth. I tried very hard to convey to my students that using a handgun for self-defense should be the last thing to do.
Exactly.
The gun legal service that I went to had an attorney saying things that gave me the impression, sure, go ahead, the law makes it legal. The policy you get will cover you. I saw nothing but a program trying to make a buck or a lot of bucks by making people feel, no problem, we'll handle it. Just sign here on the dotted line.
But what amount of money does it protect you to? I mean,
wait. Yeah. Can you make a comment onto that? And Ed, I really felt slime when I was there. A few people I know made the same comment. So what I want to get at is this. Yeah. We don't want to do that, do we?
Well, you don't, and I've seen advertisements for these programs, and I've actually wanted to go to one just to see what was going on. It reminds me of the just regular trust seminars that they have. You get postcards in the mail, get a free dinner at whatever hotel it is, the Hilton Garden Inn, and you sit in on a 2-hour thing, you get to eat for free or whatever. And they're obviously selling trust there. And on here, they're selling some sort of insurance.
The bottom line would be is why would an attorney coming from Houston be willing to spend his time, money, energy to talk to you? He wants to make a buck.
Of course. That is that. But that doesn't mean necessarily the product's not a good product.
That was going to be my next question.
It just means, if I did I used to do seminars about bankruptcy law. Okay, and people would come because they're in debt and they don't know what to do, and I'd tell them about it, and I'd say, oh, by the way, this has happened to practice bankruptcy law, and sometimes people would hire me, sometimes not. I wouldn't talk about their individual specific cases. They would have to schedule an appointment to come in and see me. But again, I wasn't doing those seminars just to educate the public or just because I'm such a wonderful guy. I am, by the way.
That's different though, Ed, because when you put this piece of the puzzle in there of guns causing death, that's a major issue changer.
Huge. It is.
Bankruptcy is different than pulling a gun out and say we'll cover you, because I've learned when you get these policies, especially on your insurance, oh yeah, we cover everything. Okay, I got this problem, so we don't cover that. I'm like, what? I'm paying all this money, you told me you cover it, and you got this stipulation, you want my money, but you don't want to help me. A lot of times that happens. I'm not saying it's every time. So that was a bad taste in my mouth, and I was just kind of interested to see what you thought about it. A week or two ago, I talked about the word reasonable as it pertains to license to carry. Now, what may be reasonable to one person may not be reasonable to the 12 people judging you for your actions.
Exactly.
Okay? What can you tell us about the word reasonable and how to apply reasonableness to a situation in a way that others will agree with you? A person decides in a second, the jury has 6 months. So tell me what you think about that, Ed.
Well, let me look it up first. I was going to look up the definition under the Texas Penal Code. I actually came a little bit prepared for that one because there is general provisions, and I don't know if I can find this that quickly, but 9.42 of the Texas Penal Code is involving deadly force to protect property.
Yes, sir.
People feel differently, like if it's to protect a person, deadly force is a little bit better, but you can use deadly force if someone is stealing.
That's correct.
Or breaking into your home, or stealing your car, or taking your lawnmower. It doesn't have to be a really big deal. And 9.42 of the Penal Code says that a person is justified in using deadly force against another to protect land or tangible, movable property if he would be justified in using force against the other under another section, 9.41. You got to look that up. when and to the degree he reasonably believes. It's like you said, one guy reasonably, all you got to say, I reasonably believe that. You know, I mean,
yeah, but you got 12 people who may counter that.
That deadly force is immediately necessary. So again, what is it? You know, if they're stealing your lawnmower, is that really necessary to use deadly force? Is it reasonable?
You're about to steal some thunder on me when it comes to merchandise like that.
So guns in your store.
That's a different story. We've had that situation. I don't want to go there. But keep going on the reasonableness, though.
Okay. Well, so, you know, and the next part of this, I'll just read the next part. To prevent the other's imminent commission of arson, burglary, robbery, or aggravated robbery, theft, during the nighttime, or criminal mischief during the nighttime. So nighttime rules are a little different than daytime rules. Or to prevent the other who is fleeing immediately after committing all these burglaries, robberies, and aggravated robberies and all these things from escaping with property, and he reasonably believes that the land or property cannot be protected or recovered by any other means. So what that means is, I mean, if you think they're going to take it and you'll never see it again.
Would you agree, you can disagree, obviously, that not only is a license to carry a gun, but it's a license to carry acting skills? Because when you go to court, you got to make sure that the jury believes that you reasonably thought that was for real. But if you're going like, I'm packing heat, like this attorney tells me over here in this this thing we were talking about, giving insurance, go ahead, no problem. But if you reasonably believe, hey man, I had got no other choice. My head's about to go into the bow of the boat. That's the only thing you got for defense. For
and I hate to say this on the radio, especially that this is going to be posted, but you know, if you shoot somebody and they land outside the house, please drag them across your threshold.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to say that.
I mean, because I mean that is, you know, I mean seriously, that could weigh on a civil lawsuit, and it could prevent you from a criminal prosecution.
See, I personally I would wait until they came through the threshold. A lot of people say, "Oh, what do I do? This guy's at the door." I said, "Well, just stand there with your handgun. As soon as he breaks through, you're legal. I mean, do what you got to do." But yeah. I'm not worried about it until he breaks.
But at the same time, you don't want to kill some drug crazed 17-year-old. I mean, you know, just because they're stupid enough,
I had 2 drugged kids or whatever, drunk kids, steal AKs from my shop one night, and they are lucky by 5 minutes I didn't take them down. Yeah. So you take stuff from me, especially when it comes to that gun shop, we're gonna stop.
We had a college kid at Lubbock that came home drunk, and he tried to enter the door 2 doors down from where he really lived, and the owner of the house shot him and killed him. And he, you know, I mean, obviously his intent was not to do anything.
I read a story about that too. Yeah. Okay, we're out of time, so let me move on here real quick. God forbid someone had to use deadly force to stop someone, and the police arrive. What do we say? What do we do so as not to self-incriminate?
Well, you don't say anything. First of all, you know, if they, you know, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use that. I suggest you talk with legal counsel before you say anything at all.
When a cop's on the site, though, do you just shut up, or you say, "Officer, respectfully, I want"?
You just tell them, yeah. You don't listen. Whatever you tell them, you're possibly going to incriminate yourself and not even realize you're doing it. And so it's just, I mean, it's not like they're out to get you, but, you know, they've got a job to do, and you need to prevent them from using whatever you may say to twist it to make it sound like you've committed a crime.
Okay. Moving fast, time's running out. I want to go over 2 last questions. And the first one, let's get a quick answer if you can. Negligence and gross negligence. Can you give us examples of what they might be to us in the LTC people of Texas?
Oh, goodness.
It's too complicated.
I don't know that I can.
Okay,
quickly.
Let's skip that. Because I only got, Paul, how much time I got? 3 minutes? Okay, how about this? When you touched on, I told you not to steal my thunder. I want to ask a question concerning Penal Code 942, deadly force to protect property, paragraph 3A. The land or property cannot be protected or recovered by any other means. Where does property insurance come into play here? I'll give you an example. Guy's got a $50,000 car. Yeah. He doesn't want it stolen. He shoots the guy dead. Go to the courtroom. I always bring up the scenario. Sir, do you have insurance? Yes, I do.
I don't think that applies. I don't think. I just, you know, I don't think insurance, an insurance carrier, that applies to this part of it. Now, I tell you, you can look at the legislative intent. There are penal codes that you can buy, that you can look, and you can research the legislative intent there to see if that includes insurance, because that would also exclude almost anything. Because I mean, most people have insurance.
That's
I mean, property insurance on tangible property in their home.
Okay, moving on real fast. Last question, Ed. Why is the law most of the time so hard to understand? Why so much legalese? Is it to give the attorneys in the court the upper hand when manipulating the law that others just say, okay?
Okay, I don't know if I can even answer that question without, in a straight face without lying to the camera. You know what? It is complex. It's unreasonably complex. But then what I tell people is every word in this section of the code, any contract, if you sign a lease, that word is in there for a reason. And you're not ever going to understand it all 100%. I'm not, even the attorneys that prepare them don't necessarily understand it all. They're just preparing for potential things that could occur, and they're trying to think of all the different things that could occur.
Paul, time. All right, Ed. Awesome. Finally got you on here. This is a fast-paced thing. We could stand here for 2 hours probably. Well, I want to thank you very much. Everybody, make sure you listen to Ed Laughlin on Law Talk every Saturday from 8 a.m. till 10. We're going to have to cut it short right now, but until next week, remember to keep your powder dry, and God bless. We'll talk to you next week.